Fisher Friday on the Joe Show, and we're talking best bands from every state. Came across a great list because music is one of those things that we can argue about without having to put too much on the line. Sports teams, politics, that can get very heated. But musicians, everybody's got their own tastes, and everybody seems to respect that for the most part. So the best bands from each and every state. California, best band from there, the Beach Boys.
Okay.
Can't really argue with that. From Minnesota, Prince and the Revolution.
No brainer.
You can't really argue with that. New Jersey, Bruce Springsteen. Texas, Destiny's Child. New York was an interesting choice by this list maker.
Okay.
The band Television. Do you even know who that is?
What?
I had to do a little bit of research. They were a punk band in the 70s in New York who kind of inspired that whole movement of the Ramones and everybody else and that whole thing. Okay. So they were the front runners in that punk thing. But, I mean, if you were to go down, the hip-hop acts, the Beastie Boys. New York's got such a list. California, such a list, too. But the Beach Boys, kind of at the top there.
Right.
So what about Iowa? Who would you pick as the best singer from Iowa?
Well, my guess would have been Slipknot.
Very good choice. They were mentioned. They were in second place in this list.
Behind
number one, the Everly Brothers.
See, that was going to be I didn't even know if that would make the list because the Everlys, obviously, being an older group, and Phil and Don have passed away now. But, that's surprising that that's number one.
Yeah, they came in number one. Well, very influential in music back in the 50s and into the 60s. And I think what's really neat is you have number one, Everly Brothers, number two, Slipknot. It just shows the different kinds of music being made here in the Hawkeye State, which is really cool.
Absolutely.
Some of the I got the question up on my Facebook page. Some of the other ones coming in: best band or musician from Iowa, past or present. Nada's getting mentioned. John Robison, who, according to Roger, is the most recorded drummer in music history.
Really?
Which I didn't know.
Wow.
So they'll get me on a little Wikipedia binge there. Corey Taylor of Slipknot getting mentioned a lot. Ruthless Ruth getting a shout out.
Okay.
So Ruth, way to go. She puts an awesome stage show.
Yeah, you bet.
Tommy Bolin getting mentioned, as well as Meredith Wilson.
Well, there's a no-brainer.
Yeah, also very influential worldwide with his music and coming from right here in Mason City. Now, if I can jump just north of the border, Prince, pretty much a no-brainer, right?
Right.
Would you include Bob Dylan in that conversation at all, or does
How
Prince
could you not?
take the top spot over Bob Dylan?
Both, my thought was Prince was obviously going to be number one, but Bob Dylan's got to be a close number two. Who else would be number two on that list if it wasn't those being the top two?
I couldn't pick anybody else. People I had on my list for Minnesota: Atmosphere, the rap group, amazing. Soul Asylum, really good music in the early part of the 90s. And then a lot of the music snobs in the Minneapolis music scene, like the Replacements and Husker Du and sort of that pre-hipster band stuff.
Right.
I never got into that, so that didn't make my list. But that gets mentioned all the time when you talk about Minneapolis music and Minnesota music. But Prince, number one. I would put Bob Dylan number two with you.
How could you not?
And if you want to keep the conversation going, we got it on the Joe Show page. So hop on over and let us know. Slipknot, Everly Brothers, Meredith Wilson, or somebody else. Coming up next on the Joe Show, we're going to talk influential websites.
Okay.
How many of these do you use every day, Bob? It is the Joe Show on Star 106.